boys and girls. I hope y'all had a great Sunday. Went to church for the first time today. I was so excited. Like, I wanted to get there 2.5 hours early. Just to be able to say I was going to church. I got to see all my church family today. Got to see Garrett. Garrett was in church today. I even got to give him a hug. And I'm super excited that we got to worship. And I got to go to church twice, actually, this morning and this evening. So I'm a little pumped and excited about that. Okay, that was my highlight of my weekend, really. So last night, or yesterday, whatever, we read that May was about to take care of the man with the yellow suit, right? She hit him in the head with the gun, from what I understood, what I read. So let's just see what happens to old boy with the yellow suit, right? I'm super excited to find out. Winnie was standing with her cheeks pressed into Chuck's chest. Chapter 20, by the way. Her arms flung tight around him. She trembled and kept her eyes squeezed shut. She could feel Chuck's breath come and go in little gasps. It was very quiet. The Tree Gap constable knelt over the sprawled body of the man in the yellow suit, and then he said, "He ain't dead. Leastways, not yet." Winnie opened her eyes a crack. She could see the shotgun lying on the grass where May had dropped it. She could see May's hands, too, hanging limp, clenching, then hanging limp again. The sun was scorching hot, and near her ear a gnat whined. The constable stood up. "What did you hit him for?" he wheezed resentfully. "He was taking the child away," said May. Her voice was dull and exhausted. "He was taking the child against her will." At this, the constable exploded. "Dang it, woman! What are you trying to say? Taking that child against her will? That's what you done. You kidnapped the child." Winnie let go of Chuck's waist and turned around. Her trembling had stopped. "They didn't kidnap me. I came because I wanted to. Go, Winnie." Behind her, Chuck drew his breath in sharply. "You wanted to?" echoed the constable, his eyes widened with disbelief. "You wanted to." "That's right," said Winnie unflinchingly. "They're my friends." The constable stared at her. He scratched his chin, eyebrows high, and eased his own shotgun to the ground. Then he shrugged and looked down at the man in the yellow suit, who lay motionless on the grass, the blazing sun white on his face and hands. His eyes were closed now, but except for that, he looked more than ever like a marionette flung carelessly into a corner, arms and legs every which way missed tangled strings. The one glance she gave him fixed his appearance forever in Winnie's mind. She turned her eyes away quickly, looking to Tuck for relief. But Tuck was not looking back at her. Instead, he was gazing at the body on the ground, leaning forward slightly, his brows drawn down, his mouth a little open. It was as if he were entranced and, yes, envious, like a starving man looking through a window at a banquet. Winnie could not bear to see him like that. She reached out a hand and touched him, and it broke the spell. He blinked and took her hand, squeezing it. "Well, anyway," said the constable at last, turning businesslike, "I gotta take charge here. Get this feller into the house before he fries. I'm telling you now, if he don't make it, you're in a pickle, you people. Now, here's what we'll do. You," he said, pointing at May, you gotta come with me. You and the little girl. You gotta be locked up right away, and the little girl, I gotta get her home. The rest of you stay here with him. Look after him. I'll get back with the doctor as quick as I can. Should have brought a deputy, but I didn't expect nothing like this to happen. Well, it's too late now. All right, let's get moving." Ma said softly, "Ma, we'll get you out right away." "Sure, Ma," said Jessie. "Don't worry about me none," said May. "I'll make out." "Make out?" exclaimed the constable. "You people beat all. If this fella dies, you'll get the gallows. That's what you'll get. If that's what you mean by make out." By the way, just in case y'all don't know, the gallows is where they actually hang people. Tuck's face crumbled. "The gallows? Hanging?" "That's it," said the constable. "That's the law. Now let's get going." Miles and Jessie lifted the man in the yellow suit and carried him carefully into the house, but Tuck stood staring, and Winnie could guess what he was thinking. The constable swung her up onto his horse and directed May to her own saddle, but Winnie kept her eyes on Tuck. His face was very pale, the creases deeper than ever, and his eyes looked blank and sunken. She heard him whisper again, "The gallows?" And then Winnie said something she had never said before, but the words were words she had sometimes heard and often longed to hear. They sounded strange on her own lips and made her sit up straighter. Mr. Tuck said, "Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right." The constable glanced heavenward and shook his head. Then, clutching his shotgun, he climbed up behind Winnie and turned the horse toward the path. "You first," he barked at me. "I got to keep an eye on you. And as for you," he admitted grimly, speaking to Tuck, "you better hope that fella don't die on you. I'll be back soon as I can." "Everything'll be all right," Tuck repeated slowly. May slumped back on the back of the old fat horse. Did not respond. But Winnie leaned around the constable and looked back at Tuck. "You'll see," she said, and then she faced forward, sitting very straight. She was going home, but the thought of that was far from her mind. She watched the rump of the horse ahead, the swish of coarse, dusty hairs as he moved his tail. She watched the swaying, sagging back of the woman who rode him. Up through the dim pine trees they went, the constable's breath wheezing in her ears and emerging from the coolness in the green. When he saw again the wide world spread before her, shimmering with light and possibility. But the possibilities were different now. They did not point to what might happen to her, but to what herself might keep from happening. For the only thing she could think of was a clear and terrible necessity. May Tuck must never go to the gallows. Whatever happened to the man in the yellow suit, May Tuck must not be hanged. Because if all they said was true, then May, even if she were the cruelest of murderers and deserved to be put to death, May Tuck would not be able to die. So, if they put her in the gallows and they try to hang her, she still can't die. So she can't go to the gallows, one, because Winnie loves her now, likes her and wants to be part of her family. But also, everyone in the town will wonder why she didn't die. Okay, chapter 21. Chapter 21. Winnie pulled her little rocking chair up to her bedroom window and sat down. The rocking chair had been given to her when she was very small, but she still squeezed into it sometimes when no one was looking, because the rocking made her almost remember something pleasant, something soothing that would never quite come up to the surface of her mind. And tonight she wanted to be soothed. The constable had brought her home, and they had seized her at once, flinging the gate open and swooping down on her. Her mother weeping, her father speechless, hugging her to him, her grandmother babbling with excitement. There was a painful pause when the constable told them she had gone away of her own free will, but it only lasted for a moment. They would not believe it, and her grandmother said, "It was the elves. We heard them. They must have bewitched her." And so they had borne her into the house, and after she had taken the bath they insisted upon, they fed and petted her and refused with little laughs and murmurs to accept her answers to their questions. She had gone away with the Tucks because, she just wanted to. The Tucks had been very kind to her, given her flapjacks, taken her fishing. The Tucks were good and gentle people. All this would have been swept away in any case, however, this good impression of her friends, what she was trying to create when she told them what had happened to the man in the yellow suit. Had they really given him the wood in exchange for finding her? They had. Well, perhaps he wouldn't want it now. May had hit him with the shotgun. He was very sick. They received this news with mingled hope and horror, and her father said, "I suppose the wood would be ours again if that man should, that is, if he doesn't." "You mean if he dies?" Winnie had said flatly, and they had sat back shocked. Soon after, they put her to bed with many kisses. But they patted her anxiously over their shoulders as they tiptoed out of the bedroom, as if they sensed that she was different now from what she had been before, and if some part of her had slipped away. Well, thought Winnie, crossing her arms on the windowsill, she was different. Things had happened to her that were hers alone, and had nothing to do with them. It was the first time, and no amount of telling about it could help them understand or share what she felt. It was satisfying and lonely both at once. She rocked, gazing at the twilight, and the soothing feeling came reliably into her bones. That feeling, it tied her to them, to her mother, father, grandmother, with strong threads too an ancient and precious to be broken. But there were new threads now, tugging and insistent, which tied her just as firmly to the tugs. Pretty interesting that just a little bit of time she spent with them, she's now feels just as much compassion and love for them as she does for her own family. Winnie watched the sky slide into blackness over the wood outside her window. There was not the least hint of a breeze to soften the heavy August night, and then over the treetops on the faraway horizon there was a flash of light. Heat lightning. Again and again it throbbed without a sound. It was like pain, she thought, and suddenly she longed for a thunderstorm. She cradled her head into her arms and closed her eyes. At once the image of the man in the yellow suit rose up. She could see him again, sprawled motionless on the sun-bleached grass. "He can't die," she whispered, thinking of May. "He mustn't." Then she considered his plans for the water in the spring, and Tuck's voice saying, "They'd all come running to the pit like pigs to slops." And she found herself thinking, if it's true about the spring, then he has to die. He must. And that's why she did it. Then she heard hoofbeats on the road below, a horse hurrying to the village, and not long after there were footsteps and a knocking on the door. Rennie crept out of her room and crouched in the shadows of the top of the stairs. It was the constable. She heard him saying, "So that's that, Mr. Foster. We can't press no kidnapping charges since your little girl claims there wasn't no kidnapping. But it doesn't matter now anyhow. The doctors got back a few minutes ago. That fella, the one you sold your land to, he's dead." There was a pause and the murmur of other voices, then a match striking, the acrid smell of fresh cigar smoke. "Yep, she got him a good one, all right. He never even came to. So it's an open-shut case since I've seen her do it. Eyewitness, no question about it. They'll hang her for sure." When he went back to her room and climbed into bed, she lay in the dark, propped on the pillows, and stared at the lighter square of her window, a heat lightning throbbing. It was like pain, she thought again, a dull pain on the fringes of the sky. May had killed the man in the yellow suit, and she had meant to kill him. Winnie had killed a wasp once in fear and anger, just in time to spare herself a stinging. She had slammed it at the wasp with a heavy book and killed it, and then, seeing its broken body, the thin wings steeled, she had wished it were alive again. She had wept for that wasp. Was May weeping now for the man in the yellow suit? In spite of her wish to spare the world, did she wish he were alive again? There was no way of knowing, but May had done what she had to do. When he closed her eyes to shut out the silent pulsing of the lightning. Now she would have to do something. She had no idea what, but something. May Tuck must not go to the gallows. Next morning, Winnie went out of the fence directly after breakfast. It was the hottest day yet, so heavy that the slightest exertion brought on a flood of perspiration and exhaustion in the joints. 2 days before, they would have insisted that she stay indoors, but now this morning they were careful with her, a little gingerly, as if she were an egg. She had said, "I'm going outside now," and they had said, "All right, but come in if it gets too hot. You'll come in if it gets too hot, won't you, dear?" And she had answered yes. The earth, where it was worn bald under the gate, was cracked and hard as rock, a lifeless tan color, and the road an aisle of brilliant velvet dust. Winnie leaned against the fence, her hands gripping the warm metal of the bars, and thought about May behind another set of bars in the jailhouse. And then, lifting her head, she saw the toad. It was squatting where she had seen it first, across the road. "Hello," she said, very glad to see it. The toad did not so much as flick a muscle or blink an eye. It looked dried out today, parched. "It's thirsty," said Winnie to herself. "No wonder on a day like this." She left the fence and went back into the cottage. "Granny, can I have some water in a dish? There's a toad out front that looks as if it's just about to die of thirst." "A toad?" said the grandmother, wrinkling her nose in disgust. "Nasty things, toads. Why, that's a smart grandma." "Not this one," said Winnie. "This one's always out there, and I like 'em. Can I give him a drink of water?" "Toads don't drink water, Winifred. It wouldn't do him any good." "They don't drink water at all?" "No, they take in it through like their skin, like a sponge when it rains. But it hasn't rained in forever. I could sprinkle some water on him, couldn't I? That would help, wouldn't it?" "Well, I suppose so. Where is he? In the yard?" "No," said Winnie. "He's across the road." I'll come with you then. I don't want you leaving the yard alone. When they came out of the fence, Winnie balancing a small bowl of water with enormous care, the toad was gone. Phew, well, he must be all right, said the grandmother, if he could hop off. With mingled disappointment and relief, Winnie tipped the water onto the cracked earth at a gate. It was sucked in immediately, and the wet brown stain it left behind paled and vanished almost as quickly. Excuse me. I never saw such heat in all my life, said Winnie's grandmother, dabbing uselessly at her neck with a handkerchief. Don't stay out here much longer, I won't, said Winnie, and was left alone once more. She sat down on the grass and sighed. May, what could she do to set May free? She closed her eyes against a glaring light and watched a little dizzily as brilliant patterns of red and orange danced under her eyelids. And then, miraculously, Jessie was there, crouching just on the other side of the fence. Winnie, he is. You're sleeping. Oh, Jessie, her eyes flew open and she reached through the fence to grasp his hand. I'm so glad to see you. What can we do? We have to get her out. Miles got a plan, but I don't see how it can work, said Jessie, speaking quickly, his voice almost a whisper. He knows a lot about carpentry, and he said he can make Ma's window frame right straight out the wall, boards and all, and she could climb through. We're going to try it tonight when it gets dark. Only trouble is that constable keeps watching her every minute. So she darned proud of having a prisoner in that new jail of his. We've been down to see her. She's all right, but even if she can climb through the window, he'll come after her as soon as she's gone. Seems to me he'll notice right off. That don't give us much time to get away, but we got to try it. There ain't no other way. Anyhow, I came to say goodbye. We won't be able to come back here for a long, long time, Winnie, if we get away. I mean, they'll be looking for Ma. Winnie, listen, I won't see you again, not for ages. Look now, here's a bottle of water from the spring. You keep it. Then no matter where you are, when you're 17, Winnie, you can drink it, and then come find us. We'll leave directions somehow. Winnie, please say you will. Pressed the little bottle into her hands, and Winnie took it, closing her fingers onto it. Jessie, wait, she whispered. I can help. When your mother climbs out the window, I'll climb in and take her place. I can wrap myself up in a blanket, and when the constable looks in, he won't be able to tell the difference. Not in the dark. I can hump up and look a lot bigger. Miles can even put a window back. That could give you enough time to get away. You'd have at least till morning. Jessie squinted at her, and then he said, Yep, it might work. It might just make a difference. But I don't know if Paul's going to want you taking any risk. I mean, what do they say to you after when they find out? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Tell your father I want to help. I have to help. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be in any of this trouble in the first place. Tell him I have to. Well, all right. Can you get out after dark? Yes, said Winnie. Then at midnight, Winnie. I'll be waiting for you right here at midnight. Winifred, an anxious voice called from the cottage. Who's that you're talking to? Winnie stood up and turned to answer. It's just a boy, Granny. I'll be in a minute. When she turned around again, Jessie was gone. Winnie clutched the little bottle in her hands and tried to control the rising excitement that made her breath catch. At midnight, she would make a difference in the world. Oof, now this book is getting exciting. It took a while, but kind of drug at the beginning. Now it's getting exciting. So, plan to help Ma escape. May escape. Ma. Where did that come from? May escape. Let's see what will happen tomorrow. Tomorrow we finish the last 3 chapters. I can't wait. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.